Charter California edition. My name is Brad Pomerantz. We are continuing our roadshow throughout the state of California. Today, we are in beautiful Victorville, California, and we are joined by Destiny Wetzel. She is an ambassador with the March of Dimes in the High Desert. She knows from what she speaks when we talk about the March of Dimes, which now is focused not so much on polio, which was its original mission, but on what?
On prematurity and birth defects.
Right. And so let's talk about your family. You have 4 children.
4, yes.
And they're wonderful. Tell us their names, their ages.
Aubrey and Nicholas are my twins, and they're 6 years old. And then I have Annabelle is 4, and then Jackson is 2.
So I'll give the ending away. They're all doing great.
Yes.
That's the ending. They're all doing great. Annabelle had we'll call it a standard pregnancy,
yes.
Gestation.
Yes.
She was term. Let's talk about Aubrey and Nicholas.
They were... I had a C-section with them, and
right.
so in the C-section they swallowed a lot of fluid, so they ended up in the NICU. They were 4 weeks early.
Which is not terrible,
right.
but still premature.
Yes, it is still premature. So they ended up in the NICU for 10 days. They needed breathing support
right.
and learned to eat and stuff like that.
And now they're 6 years old and just running all over the place.
Oh yes, everywhere.
Then we must talk about Jackson.
Yes.
Boy, that Jackson, as you told me, he's bossing around all of his older siblings.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's fair to say, Destiny, that it wasn't clear that Jackson would have the opportunity to boss around all his kids. All
yes.
his siblings, I should say.
Yeah, we had a really rough pregnancy with him. When I was 18 weeks pregnant, I fell and my water broke. And we had weeks at home where we didn't really know what was
right.
going on. And then finally figured out that my water was gone. And so I ended up in the hospital for a month trying to keep him in. We were trying to make it even further. But we just couldn't get past 27 weeks. So he was born. Yes, he was born at 27 weeks. And he came out. We weren't sure if he would even have lung tissue because of the having no amniotic fluid,
right.
but he cried when he was born. So we were excited about that.
And the good news is, one can't tell, but you're tall.
Uh-huh.
Your husband's tall,
yes.
And so he came out at 3 pounds.
3 pounds.
I mean, that's not terrible for 27 weeks, no?
That actually was about the 95 percentile is what we were told. So
right.
he was a big baby.
Right, at 3 pounds.
At 3 pounds, yes.
So he dropped, you said?
He did drop. He got down to 2 pounds 6 ounces.
Wow.
And he actually did that really fast.
Right.
But he had a rough start. He had a couple of weeks where we really were back and forth. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Sure.
We were told, to prepare for the worst and stuff. And it did take those few weeks. And finally, he had steroids and surfactant treatments, everything. And once he kind of got past that hurdle, he started picking up the pace, and he's been our miracle ever since.
And what you described to me is, if I saw him, and I'd love to meet him one day,
yes.
he looks just like anyone else. Maybe not a 2-year-old, maybe an 18-month-old, because, like you said, he was extremely early. So it's as if his birthday was, let's say, 3-4 months later.
But you would never know. Like, he's running around. He, like you said, he's Boston.
Now, what's so compelling about your story is, in the midst of all of this, you have 3 kids at home, you have 1 child that's touch and go, thank God he's fine now. Mm-hmm. You decided to get involved. I just got chills. You decided to get involved in the March of Dimes.
Yes, well,
Tell us about that.
When we were in the NICU, we were given a lot of materials, and I just was looking through them and just saw the March of Dimes on one of the things we got, and so I Googled it.
Right, at the March of Dimes. Like, I've heard of it, I don't know what it is.
I didn't really know much about it. I think I kind of knew that it had something to do with prematurity, but I didn't really know much about it, so I looked it up and saw that he came home the end of February, and they had a march.
At that point, how old was he?
He was almost 3 months old.
Okay, so he was term, I guess. He
came
home
he came home right before his due date. And anyway, so they had a walk coming up in April, so he was fresh out of the NICU, and I was like, well, let's just go. So my mom...
Wait a second. I mean, that's crazy to think that you had kind of the presence of mind and the desire to be charitable, philanthropic, to participate. I'm very impressed. Forgive me.
I think my thoughts on it were, I teach my kids that we fight for babies. That's what I always tell them. Okay. And so they know, well, at the time, I think my mindset was that we didn't always fight for babies, but someone else did, and that's why my son was able to get the treatments that he got. So to me, because someone else was fighting to get those things for my son, I wanted to do it for someone else.
If he was born, I hate to say this, if he was born when we were born, I mean, you're younger than me, but suffice it to say, probably wouldn't be here.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But like you said, someone was fighting for Jackson, and now you're fighting for future Jacksons.
Now we fight for babies,
Exactly.
yes. And I tell my kids, they tell the cashier at the store, like they say, we fight for babies. You know, it's important. It's not just something that we do. It's like something that we live. It's something that we really believe in. And I want my kids to grow up knowing their story, where they came from, how they started life, and I want them I want it to be something that they do with their life.
So what do you, when you speak with folks that are thinking of getting pregnant or are pregnant, what are you telling them? What are you teaching them to avoid prematurity?
Well, first of all, it makes me crazy anytime I hear of a pregnant woman falling or taking things that she shouldn't take and stuff like that. Go to your doctor's appointments. Prenatals. Just take care of yourself. You know, you don't realize. I mean, I had actually fallen in another pregnancy and didn't have anything happen, but you never know when it will happen. You know, so just don't take it for granted. Don't do. You know, it's usually the second and third pregnancies when women kind of
they get lax
on it and stuff.
I have 2 daughters, and I remember when my wife got pregnant the first time. The thing that I kept hearing is you got to take folic acid. You got to take folic acid.
Yes.
What is it with this folic acid?
Oh, it's like the miracle for pregnancy.
Right.
It helps.
I guess it's with neural development.
Yes, there's a lot of birth defects that can be avoided with enough folic acid.
And what's stunning is it's pretty much existent in our diets, but you could just take a multivitamin or even a prenatal multivitamin if you need to.
It's in foods that you eat regularly, like leafy vegetables and stuff. Broccoli has high folic acid, but prenatal vitamins, and you can even talk to your doctor about getting extra folic acid put into your diet, like extra supplements.
Sure. What surprised me when I was preparing for our interview is that you in some ways are kind of lucky in that you knew why your child was delivered premature. Actually, both. The twins were twins, and Jackson, you had the fall.
Right.
I learned that upwards of 50% of premature births, no one really knows why.
Right.
And so that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, I have so many friends who've, because now that we're in this
this
world and stuff, who they give birth early, and it seems a lot of times it's even earlier and earlier each pregnancy and stuff. Most people don't know why. I'm actually one of the few people that I know that actually does know why.
I mean, it's my mother. I have a sister. She had pregnancies that were both 36 weeks. I was 36 weeks. My sister was, and no one really knew. But now we look back, she smoked. That was the era. This was right when the Surgeon General's report came out, and we've learned smoking. If you want a premature baby, smoke.
Right.
If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and it affects their birth weight. So even if you make it a term, they still might be very small.
Right. How else can we get involved? There's the walk. What else can be done?
There's the walk. There's you can go to the March of Dimes website and donate. You can always call up your local March of Dimes chapter.
They're up and down the state. I mean, we're in the high desert today, but they're everywhere.
Yes, they're everywhere, and they always are wanting volunteers for all kinds of events and things that they're doing. Anything from just everything.
What has it meant for you to be involved?
This is a huge passion for me and my family. It's not just me, my husband, my children, we're all involved. It's something that we haven't been we just want to give back. I mean, my children are the most important things in the world to me, and they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for March of Dimes.
Destiny, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Her name is Destiny Wetzel. She is with the March of Dimes in the High Desert. My name is Brad Pomerantz, coming to you from Victorville. Thank you so much for joining us on Charter California Edition.